So, picture this. You've got a mountain of data, and I mean a mountain. We're talking terabytes, even petabytes. How do you get all of that into the cloud? Well, trying to upload it over the internet is often just not going to work. Today, we're putting the two heavyweights of physical data transfer head-to-head, AWS Snowball and Azure Data Box. Let's get into it.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the petabyte problem, why you even need these things. Then, we'll look at the solution, this idea of an armored suitcase for data. After that, we'll meet the whole family of devices from both sides, do a real head-to-head comparison, and wrap up with a guide to help you make the right choice.
So why do these services even exist? Well, the simple answer is that when you're dealing with truly massive amounts of data, the internet just isn't built for that kind of heavy lifting. It kind of breaks. Let's just think about this for a second. 100 terabytes. That's not just a big file. For a lot of companies, that's their entire data center. Trying to shove that much information through your typical internet pipe is, well, a huge, huge task. This is what we call the internet bottleneck. You've only got so much bandwidth, right? Plus, connections can drop, forcing you to start all over again. And the costs? Ah, man, the cost to move that much data out of your own facility can be insane. You could be looking at a data transfer that takes months, maybe even years to finish. It's just not practical. So this is where the cloud providers got really smart. They basically asked, what if the fastest way to move data isn't online at all? What if we just shipped it? It's like an armored suitcase for your data. And that's exactly what these are. Both AWS and Azure will literally mail you a rugged, super secure physical box. You just plug it into your network, copy everything over, and then ship it right back to them. It's a beautifully simple answer to a really complex problem. And what's wild is that the core process is pretty much identical no matter which team you're on. You hop into the cloud portal to request it, the device shows up at your door, you load it with data, ship it back, and then they take care of uploading it to your storage. Simple as that. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm supposed to put my company's most sensitive data in the mail? Well, yeah, but as you'd expect, security is absolutely paramount here. We're talking tamper-resistant cases, military-grade 256-bit encryption, and super strict chain of custody tracking. Your data is locked down tight, both physically and digitally, the whole way. Okay, so let's meet the players. This isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Both AWS and Azure have a whole lineup of these devices, each one designed for a different amount of data. This chart really tells the story of their different strategies. Right in the middle, you see they both have a similar 80 terabyte box. But then look at the extremes. Azure goes big with its Data Box Heavy, which can handle a whole petabyte in one go. AWS, on the other hand, goes massive. Their Snowmobile is a literal semi-truck that hauls 100 petabytes, a whole truck. All right, time for the main event. Let's put the flagship devices, that 80 terabyte AWS Snowball Edge and Azure Data Box, right next to each other and see where they really differ. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? At a certain point, shipping data isn't just a clever trick, it's the only way that makes sense. And this really gets to the heart of the philosophical difference between these two services. Let's start with Azure's superpower, pure, unadulterated scale. With the Data Box Heavy, we're talking about moving one whole petabyte of data in a single appliance. This thing is an absolute beast, engineered for one job and one job only, hauling massive amounts of data. And then you look at AWS and you see something totally different. The Snowball Edge isn't just about storage. The compute-optimized versions come with up to 104 virtual CPUs. Think about that. This isn't just a hard drive in a fancy case. It's a powerful server. And that tells you everything about their different philosophies. This right here is probably the most important thing to understand. Azure's Data Box is a pure data mover. Its goal is to get your bits from point A to point B as fast as possible. AWS Snowball Edge, on the other hand, is a portable data center. Its job is to move your data and give you the horsepower to actually do stuff with it right there on site. So, to boil it all down, Azure is laser-focused on maximum data volume for big, straightforward migrations. AWS was focused on creating a portable edge data center that could also move data. And yeah, I said was for a very specific and very important reason that we're about to get to. And here's what that actually looks like. This is the dashboard for a Snowball Edge. You're not just looking at storage capacity here. As the slide says, you are literally managing and running EC2 instances, virtual servers, right on the box itself. That's real compute power you can hold in your hands. So with these two completely different takes on the problem, how are you supposed to choose the right one?
Well, the choice has actually gotten a whole lot simpler recently. You should absolutely go with Azure Data Box when your mission is simple: move a ton of data. If your only goal is to get a massive data set into Azure storage as quickly and easily as possible, and you don't need to do any fancy processing on-site, then Databox is built from the ground up just for you. It's the ultimate data hauling truck.
Now, what about the AWS Snowball Edge? It's perfect for those complex jobs, like analyzing sensor data on an oil rig or running AI models in a factory with spotty internet. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. You see that last bullet point? AWS is no longer offering Snowball Edge to new customers. That's right, if you're starting a project today, this option is off the table. It's now a service for existing users, and AWS is pushing new customers toward other edge computing solutions.
And that really brings us to a fascinating final thought. The fact that AWS pivoted away from Snowball Edge for new customers, it makes you wonder, right? As more and more data is being generated out there at the edge, is just moving it from one place to another really enough anymore? Or is AWS's move a signal that the real game is no longer just about transferring data, but about being able to process it right where it's born? It definitely seems like the industry is betting on that. It's for sure something to think about.